In the heart of the African savanna, a man's act of courage saved a lion from certain death, and months later, the king of beasts returned with an unexpected gift that would change their lives forever. One misty morning, as the sun began to peek over the horizon, Chike, a local villager living near a nature reserve, set out on his daily routine. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of the awakening wilderness filled his ears as he made his way along the riverbank to check his fishing nets. Little did he know that this ordinary day would soon turn into an extraordinary encounter that would test his bravery and compassion. As Chike approached the river, the usual chorus of birdsong and rustling leaves was suddenly interrupted by an unusual sound. Faint roars mixed with frantic splashes caught his attention. Curiosity piqued. He quickened his pace, his heart beginning to race as he drew closer to the source of the commotion. What Chike saw next made him freeze in his tracks. There, in the swift current of the river, was a magnificent male lion with a golden mane. The powerful creature, usually the epitome of strength and grace, was now struggling desperately against the relentless force of the water. It was clear that the lion had misjudged the river's strength while attempting to cross, perhaps in pursuit of prey, and now found itself in a life-threatening situation. The lion's eyes were wild with panic, its mighty roars reduced to pitiful gurgles as it fought to keep its head above water. With each passing moment, Chike could see the fight draining from the animal. Its strength was nearly gone, and it seemed as though only a few breaths stood between the lion and its fate. In that moment, Chike faced a choice that would define his character. He could turn away, prioritizing his own safety and leaving nature to take its course. Or he could risk everything to save this wild and potentially dangerous animal. Time seemed to stand still as he weighed his options, the lion's struggles growing weaker by the second. But Chike's hesitation was short-lived. In a split-second decision that spoke volumes about his compassion, he chose to act. Without further delay, he stripped off his shirt, his mind racing with a plan. With deft movements, he wrapped one end of the garment tightly around his arm, creating a makeshift lifeline. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, Chike waded into the frigid water. The current immediately tugged at his legs, giving him a taste of the lion's predicament. Undeterred, he pressed forward, extending his shirt-trapped arm toward the struggling beast. At first, the lion's instincts kicked in. Despite its dire situation, it bared its teeth and let out a weak growl, a final show of defiance against this strange human intruder. But exhaustion quickly overcame its natural wariness. In a moment that seemed to defy the laws of nature, the lion clamped its powerful jaws around the offered shirt. With the connection made, Chike began the arduous task of pulling the massive animal toward the shore. The cold water bit into his skin, numbing his limbs, while his muscles screamed in protest against the immense weight. Yet, driven by a determination he didn't know he possessed, Chike persevered. Inch by painstaking inch, he hauled the lion closer to safety. After what felt like an eternity, Chike's feet finally found purchase on the muddy riverbank. With one final Herculean effort, he dragged the lion onto solid ground. Panting heavily, his body trembling from exertion and adrenaline, Chike quickly backpedaled, putting distance between himself and the wild animal. His heart pounded in his chest as he watched the lion ready to flee at the first sign of aggression. But the attack he half expected never came. Instead, the lion simply stood there, its sides heaving as it caught its breath. For a long, tense moment, their eyes met. Human and beast, rescuer and rescued. In that gaze, Chike saw something he never expected. A glimmer of understanding, perhaps even gratitude. Then, as suddenly as the encounter had begun, it was over. The lion turned away, its wet mane glistening in the morning light, and silently padded into the forest. Chike was left alone on the riverbank, his mind struggling to process the incredible event that had just transpired. As the days turned into weeks and then months, life in the village returned to normal. Chike often thought about his encounter with the lion, but as time passed, it began to feel more like a vivid dream than reality. The dry season arrived, bringing with it scorching heat that caused the once raging river to shrink to a mere trickle. One sweltering afternoon, Chike found himself trudging along a familiar path, a heavy sack of corn slung over his shoulder. The weight of his burden and the oppressive heat had him lost in thought, his mind far from memories of lions and daring rescues. Suddenly, a sound cut through the stillness of the afternoon, a deep, resonant roar that echoed through the trees. Chike froze, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. It was a sound he recognized, one that had haunted his dreams for months. But this was no dream. It was a call, and it was coming from the depths of the forest. As Chike stood rooted to the spot, unsure whether to run or stay, movement caught his eye. From between the sun-dappled trees emerged a familiar figure, the male lion he had saved all those months ago. But this time, the lion was not alone. Trailing behind their father came a group of lion cubs, their round eyes wide with curiosity as they took in the sight of the human before them. Shakik's breath caught in his throat as the male lion approached. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but something in the animal's demeanor held him in place. There was no aggression in its movements, no hint of the ferocious predator it could be. Instead, it moved with a purposeful gentleness that seemed almost ... respectful, to Cheek's utter astonishment. The lion stopped just a few feet away and gently placed something on the ground before him. It was a freshly hunted antelope, its coat still gleaming in the afternoon sun. The message was clear. This was no chance encounter, but a deliberate act of reciprocity. In that moment, Chike understood the profound nature of what was happening. In the harsh world of the wild, where survival was a daily struggle, this lion had remembered the kindness shown to it. More than that, it had chosen to repay that kindness in the only way it knew how, by providing food, the most precious resource in its world. The realization struck Chike with the force of a physical blow. He had always seen the animals of the savannah as creatures driven purely by instinct, capable of the higher emotions he associated with humans. But here, before his very eyes, was proof that respect and gratitude could transcend the boundaries between species. As the lion family retreated back into the forest, leaving behind their offering, Chike felt a profound shift in his understanding of the world around him. From that day forward, his journeys through the forest took on a new dimension. Though he rarely saw the lions again, he could always feel their presence, a watchful, protective energy that followed him through the trees. These were not the eyes of a predator stalking its prey, but of a friend keeping vigil over one who had once saved its life. In the vast, untamed wilderness of the African savanna, an unlikely bond had formed. A testament to the power of compassion and the unexpected connections that can arise when we choose to act with kindness, even in the face of danger. As Chike continued his life in the village, he carried with him the memory of that extraordinary encounter. It served as a constant reminder that in this world, where the line between man and nature often seems sharply drawn, there are moments when that line blurs. In those moments, we catch a glimpse of a deeper truth, that all living beings are connected in ways we may never fully understand, but which have the power to change us forever.